Alt and Shift again, and click and drag a corner, bring it down. Select both, go over to our Pathfinder, minus the front, to delete that section, bring it back, and we got a nice circle. Okay, we can draw on this line. You'll notice that these tips on both of these are kind of a blunt tip, and I'm making them into a sharp tip. That's basically just me thinking that I think a sharp tip is going to look better than a blunt tip. You could try to do a blunt tip by clicking on that, converting it to smooth, and then adjusting it in a little bit. And if you like that, you can keep it. I like it to be sharp, so that's why I do it like that. That's kind of a taste thing. So do what you like there. I'm going to do this whole line as one chunk, this whole line is one chunk, and then this whole line down to here is one piece. So we'll do this one first. We'll do this right, click to here. And again, we're trying to keep the number of points to a minimum here. So to do that, we can basically say there's a curve here and there's a curve here. So we only need, an extra chunk here. We know that we're going to have adjustment handles here. So we can pull these into where we want them. Like that. Get this close to where you think it should be on this side. Then, we're going to need adjustment bars over here. So I'll select both of those, convert them to smooth. We had this one right here. You can click on this convert to corner to get rid of it on that one. Hold down Alt to adjust this adjustment bar to where you believe it should go, which is about right there. Select this one, and we'll put this side of the adjustment bar to about the same spot. So if we highlight here, you can see that we got the adjustment bars parallel and about the same spot here. And we can play with the other side here and get one of them right. So you'll see that this bar, the internal part of this bar, is about where we want it. So we know this bar should be longer and parallel, so about right there. This one should be shorter, about right there. And you'll see that it's following that corner pretty nicely. We can swap it, the fill and stroke, hide that, and the line looks pretty good there. Hold on a second here. Okay, well, we'll do this line here. So we can probably do this one with only 4 points, so we're going to try. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm not trying to follow this curve exactly, as we don't need to. I'm just trying to follow it pretty closely and make it look good. So we can select this point here and adjust the bar to about where it is on the other side. So if we highlight over the top of these two, you can see that the adjustment bar should probably be about here. And if we go over these two, you can see that this one should be up here somewhere. Drag over the top. So parallel is about like that. This one can probably go down a tad. Shift X. And that looks pretty good. we're trying to make, you'll notice that this image uses something that a lot of animators use, where they make the outline really thick. That's to, and then the internal lines are thinner. That's in order to make the character look like it has, it pops out more. So we can do this line again for the hair. Basically how we've been doing it. And then, we can basically say that, okay, we know we're going to have an adjustment bar here. Same with this one. Do this one here. And we're basically, just... The reason I don't like doing it this way as much as the other way is it can be a pain to get the handles in the proper spot. This is much easier for new people to do because it's easier to come in and just get the lines where you want it, whereas if I'm doing it the way I would normally do it, I'm going to do it like this. And I'm done. And I'll show you again here. If we look at, we zoom in a little bit here, you can see that, this is one line that's going all the way across, so zoom out a little bit here. Probably actually a point here. I'm just trying to put the adjustment bars in on the same spot on each side. Then I can come in here, zoom in a little bit, and pull this line in. We've had that, and we'll see that we have basically the whole top of fur almost done here. You can do these little two lines underneath. These are part of, her neck, so they should probably actually be nice and rounded rather than sharp points. Well, like right here, we're probably gonna use a sharp point here. We don't need to there. And draw on this line here. Or I do it like this, I think. The reason I'm doing it like this is because if you look at this, we've got this whole internal chunk, so we're probably going to be trying to cut this stuff out. So we're going to be using the Pathfinder tool on this. We're just going to quickly throw in these. Everywhere else, these fin parts have been, you know, like clipped in with everything. If we zoom on a little bit, these are hidden underneath. Same here, same here. So we're going to follow that same thing with this gill behind. So I'm going to actually reverse this line and do it like this. Even though it's different than what's on it, we're going to try to keep things consistent. If we zoom in here, you can see that that's just a little artifact. Okay, the way I'm going to do this part is I'm actually going to be drawing in all of these. We can hide all of this back behind here. And then what we're actually going to do here is we're going to select both of these and we're going to unite them to merge those two lines together. So we've got one big chunk here. And then if we look at this, you can see where the points are. We're going to be putting in basically points in the same spot. Then we're going to select them, and then we're going to drag them to make them pretty much parallel. Basically, the reason we're doing it this way is because then I can see where these bars are. I can drag over the top of them and keep the bars to be about the same. I can keep them parallel, and that'll make these lines follow each other nicely. And we can select both of these, go to our Pathfinder, and go to minus front, get rid of that, and then we have a nice piece. And you see how we did that in multiple pieces. We did this as its own line, we did this as its own line, and then we removed the interior as its own part. The reason for that is, I'll actually do something quickly here. Let's say we're drawing a part of her hair. So like, I'm just going to quickly draw something. And then we had another piece of her hair come in, at this point here. Okay, and let's say this is what we're trying to trace here. I'm actually going to throw the inks underneath of the white layer quickly. Move the whites over a tad. And make a new layer on top. So it looks like, we're working on something here. Grab my pen tool with P. And there's two ways that we can go about trying to trace this. We can try to trace it like this, where we make it into all one chunk. and it's pretty good. The problem with it is if you get this piece just a little bit off and then we swap it, it looks like this line is not hooking up very well with that. I mean, we got it pretty close here, but it's not perfect. So the reason to actually do this is two different chunks, like this, is that even if it's not perfect, you didn't get it perfect on the line, you're still, this line looks exactly like it should be. It's following it on both sides. So it's not like this line's here and this line's a little off here. Hold on one second. Okay. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So if we look at this, and then we come in afterwards and add this chunk in, it looks like this line is following itself perfectly because it is. It's not like, let's say we merge these two together and grab this chunk and move it a little over. Now it looks like, it's too fat over here and too thin over here, because it is. It's not following itself perfectly, so probably be a little easier if we change this to, say, like a red color to follow. But it doesn't look like it's merging itself properly. So that's why you try to do this as two different pieces rather than one. It's for that reason. You're basically you're saving yourself some work. We'll go ahead and get rid of that layer. We don't need it anymore. Throw the white underneath again and unlock that. All right, and here we can probably, how do we want to draw this whole chunk here? Because with this part here, we're probably going to end up drawing this down, up around, and then back up here. So one thing we're going to try to do when doing this is we're going to do this the way I was showing you, which is, I believe, easier for people who haven't done it very often. I do recommend trying to do it the way that I do it. I would normally do it, because once you get good at that, it will save you time. I'm purposely actually throwing in a little less points than I might need to on this one to show you how to come in and add some points afterwards. That may make this a little bit more interesting. So we're basically throwing in a bunch of lines like this. We're going to start here because this is probably the easiest lines to follow. So we're going to grab these two, convert them to smooth, and then this line right here looks fine. This line underneath is bad. We'll have to convert these ones to smooth so I get a decent idea on where these lines should be. Here I'm basically just trying to get this part of it right. Now the problem we're running into here is we've got this line here and we like how it's curving in, but then it's curving in here rather than here. So we actually need some extra points in here. So we're going to grab our Add Anchor Point tool, and we're going to click and add some anchor points in the same spot on both sides. And we're going to grab our Direct Selection tool, and we can click and actually drag the points in like this. And you'll see how if we hover over the top of these, all these adjustment bars are smooth and nice, and they're following each other pretty nicely here. One thing that we can do here is you'll see that if we zoom out a little bit, it's a thinner point here. So in order to make this follow its line a little bit more perfect, we can actually extend this line down and do the same thing on the other side. It's almost always the outside line here is going to be a little bit longer than the inside line. So I'm actually, when I'm doing this, I actually added less points there than I knew I would need, just so I could, show you how to add some extra points in if you need to get more adjustment on your shapes. So we'll select these. If we look at this, we can tell that the points should probably be here rather than where they're at. So we can click and drag these in here, just perfectly fine. Select them, convert them to smooth. And then probably adjust these in. And then grab these and adjust this in as well. Oops. You actually have to click on the adjustment arrow. And you'll see that we're probably going to need to add an extra point here as well, which is fine. Okay. You'll see that these bars are not parallel. You'll always want to try to keep them parallel with each other so that the angles are smooth. And you can see that this part needs to be widened out here. We could play with all of this stuff, but it's easier to just grab your Add Anchor Point tool or hit the plus key. Find the, basically where the bow, where you believe the points are going to need to be, basically the farthest away point. And then click on and add 2 points on each side. Select your direct selection tool with A, and click, and drag these points over. And you'll see that you get this nice smooth curve here. So that, with this, you'll have to adjust the adjustment bars a little bit. That's fine. And you want to select both the bars so that you can make sure that you're keeping them parallel with each other. We'll swap that back and take a look at how the line looks and hide this. And you'll see that it's nice and smooth throughout the whole thing so far. Then we can come up here. This one will need the anchor point tool and alright, and this is an S shape, so we can probably get away with just having the 2 points here. I'm going to swap that. Basically, we're going to pull this up higher than we think it needs to go. Same here. Do the same thing here. Now, the line that matters the most here is this line here. We're not too concerned about this internal part here because we can hide, this inside line pretty well just with, just by covering it up. So we're not too worried about that. So if we look at this, we can tell that this line here is probably a little extreme, but pretty close. Do the same thing here. And we're trying to get this line right, but we kind of want to keep this right because this part in here should be should look nice. So we got this line here. So we can get that pretty close to where it should be, and then we'll just chunk this all up like that. So we can zoom in a little bit here, and we're going to select both of these, convert them to smooth. We selected this point here, and it was so we can convert it off of smooth into a corner to put it back to where it was. And you can see that this line is relatively close already. We can probably just pull that out a little bit and this up a little bit. And it's already almost exactly where it should be. This one in a little bit, and this one down a little. We're trying to make this actually kind of chunky here, which is fine. There we go. We have to add the adjustment bars in here in order to make this look right. But we know this is going to need to be longer and this is going to need to be a lot shorter. So that looks pretty close. We're going to need to be longer since it's on the outside, so we're trying to make it smooth. Same here. And try to keep it parallel again. And that's following itself nicely. On top of this line here. I'm going to Shift C in order to get my direct anchor point selection tool here. Hit A, hold down Alt, click and drag this side to where we want it. And this chunk here is going to be hidden back behind, so that's fine. We can leave that as is without having to play with it too much, because we're just going to do this. And then this whole piece here is going to be done in 2 chunks, so basically we're going to do this. And then this chunk right here will be its own chunk. Select both those shapes, Shift X to swap them, and we got that in there. Zoom out a little bit and show what it looks like so far, and we're getting pretty close to being done. We're going to go ahead and save this tutorial in here. So I don't lose it all, and say if it crashes. And then we can add this chunk in since it's simple. I'm going to try to do it as just 2 points here. We basically just try to make these lines parallel with each other. And then again, like we did before, these have all been like this. So even though they're just kind of weird chunks, in order to keep things the same, we're going to do it like this. And if we look on this side, the curve is downwards. So we're actually going to delete these quick and change the angle curve to be like this instead. So it's following the same angle as the other side. And then in this one, we can do what we did before. And you see how this fin is actually going in. The reason that it's going in is because the fin is part way into this line. It adds a little bit extra depth. So what we can actually do to, show that is do what we did with the other one and just draw, this side of the fin. Angle it in, select both of these, and then merge it together like we did before. And then we'll use the Pathfinder tool to delete the chunk of it. So I'm basically doing that right now. I'm doing this kind of quick here, just to show how I would normally do it. And then we can swap it out. And you'll see that if we hide the background layer, like the inside of the fin looks like it's going in a little bit. I'm actually going to try to add that so it looks a little bit more like that here. And that's just to give the image a little more depth. One thing I kind of like here is I'd like this to be a little thicker at this point, so we can pull this point out a little bit. I'm trying to make this curve smoother here. Okay, this chunk in here, I'm not actually going to draw. I'm going to smooth this out so it comes down like this. So we can do that by doing... So we're drawing in the lines, bring them to smooth, adjusting them to where we think the line should be. Do the same thing over here. I'm not too worried about this line here because it's, hidden inside of there. Pull that in so it's overlapping nicely. And I'm just, going through and adding in all these lines like this. One nice thing about working with, say, like dark hair like we are here, is that you can get a little less anal about how the lines are going to be in here, because a lot of this is just going to be hidden because of how much black is in here. I'm still, making it look nice and trying to keep out all the lines smooth and everything, but you can get a little lazier with your lines. So, one thing to keep in mind, you're always trying to make everything look good, but you should never really be striving for absolute perfection, because otherwise you will go insane very quickly. And then after we add all of this in, we can come in here and just take a look at the line and say, okay, this should probably be a little thicker in here. The rest of it looks pretty good. And then come in and add this chunk of it in. And then this whole section in here is going to be hidden inside of here. So you can just trace inside of it like that. Determine where our adjustment bars are going to be. Now we're going to have one here. There you go. We're getting pretty close to having this done. Okay, one thing that we can see here is if we look at every other one of these, the part of the fin that is on the inside, but this one's on the outside, we could do this one just to make it look different, but I'm actually going to throw it on the inside here. Since those are veins that are supposed to be connected, I think that was just him getting lazy. So we can basically do this and not wanting to erase it. So we can draw in these lines here on this side rather than the other side, and then that way it matches with here, 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 and eventually here. So we've almost got the inking done. Finish up this line. I'm going to do this like we were doing it before, and just, keep adding in the points. So, and let's say you deselect the line and you want to reconnect. You can select the line, go back to your pen tool with P, move the pen pointer over the top of the point, click so you reconnect to it. And add in all of our lines. Oop, I must not have. Oh, one thing that you see I did there was when trying to put a point in here, I clicked on this line. If you put it over the top of it, you'll add an extra point. If it's a plus, I did not want to do that. So we're Control Z to go back some steps to get rid of that. One thing I can do here too, to be a little lazy, is add an extra point here. So it flows nicely. We know we're going to need adjustment bars here. We know we're going to need them here, and we're going to need them here. So let's just go in right off the bat and add in all the adjustment bars where we think we're going to need them. Just the lines in. We'll see that right here. We're probably going to want an extra point here because we actually want this little chunk in here. So in order to do that, we'll hit the plus tool and add a point here and pull this to where it should be. And I'm actually going to pull this in quite a bit here. I'm going to move these adjustment bars in a lot. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I want that little kink that's her coming in. So just like this, and we can do it like that. And then if we want another chink in here, we can do that by selecting this, clicking on plus, zooming in a little bit here, and adding an extra point in as well here. So if you determine, that something is a little off and you want it to go better, we don't need this line in here to be, perfect, since it's all hidden in there. The line that matters is this outside line. We can do it like that. The reason I wanted that in there is because it looks like she's got hips more if you do that. So there is a reason for it. Alright. Just this in. One thing you kind of want to do when you're adjusting these is you don't want to hold down Alt, because if you hold down Alt while you're moving these, you're going to not adjust the other side, and you can then make these lines not parallel. So you kind of want to adjust this to where it should be while not holding Alt. So Now if I can actually click on the adjustment bar, parallel, here, you'll see that part of the problem we're running into here is, this is curving out, but it curves out and then curves back in. So in order to actually add that, we're going to need to add a couple extra points in the middle here. Just simply done with the plus, hitting plus on the keyboard, and then Control it in like that. And then I can pull this out to make it a little wider. And you'll see that this line is chunking in a little bit. We can do that. I can actually add that by clicking here and pulling this in a tad. The reason I'm actually doing that is because I'm going to be drawing this in, and then we're going to cut out a chunk of that. So normally I would not add an extra point here, but I think it fits with this image because this whole chunk here is going to be merged together. So you could do it like that. We're not going to. We're going to do this. Merge these two together so it's one shape, and then we're going to do this inside of it a little bit. And then I'm going to click the plus to add in a point here, and then pull it up a little bit. So that's so you get that kind of curve in. And select both of them, minus it out, and then you've got that. And we can pull this up a little bit. And I wanted to do that so it looks like her fin is, inside of it. It gives it a nice little effect in there. And then, again, we're going to follow the same curve as the other side here. We're going to make it nice and chunky so it's easier to see at a smaller size. And we've got, we zoom in on the whole thing, we've got basically, if we look at it, the whole outline done. We just need to do our eyes and this eyebrow here. So, on this, the eyebrow overlaps over the top of that. I do not like that, so we're not going to do that. And we'll just do it like that. This eyebrow is actually thicker than the other eyebrow, so we're going to thin it up right now. If you look at this eyebrow, it's pretty thin, so we're trying to keep it parallel. We're going to do what we did before, where we draw this as two pieces, like this. So it looks like it intersects, rather than try to draw it like this. Again, the reason is because it then looks like this line is not following this line and it just looks off. Again, I'm not trying to follow the line exactly, I'm just trying to make it look good. I'm kind of lazy and just draw this as, don't even have to put a curve in there. Probably want to put one here though. Okay. Hide that and you can see how that looks. Now, looking at this, the way I'm going to do this mouth is I'm going to do it as a thing where I cut out a part of it. It looks like it chunks out a little bit here, so we're actually going to add in an extra point there. And then looking at this, I think it looks like it goes like this. It's got kind of fish lips going, so do it like that. And one thing you can do when you're doing that, if we look at the original layer, it's not really done with a pure black, it's kind of a dark red. So we can do that line here. We hide this with a red, change it to HSB, and add some black to it. Oops. Actually go to the right. So it looks more like lips if we do that as a dark red. Alright, all we have left is the eyes now. But we still have the that red selected, so we'll go back to the black. Alright. One thing that I always do when I'm doing eyes is the inside pupil is always drawn with the ellipses tool. Like that. So we're just trying to make it look right. If we look at this, if we hide the white box, we'll see that a lot of the part of this eye is, we have some weird gradient in here. We have this shiny part here and here. So most of this eye is actually going to be done as part of coloring. So I'm actually not going to be inking this eye because I think a lot of this eye is going to be done with the color on the coloring section because of how I think I'm going to need to do it. So we've pretty much covered all of the inking section on this. We will be doing the rest of this in the coloring tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and save this again, and we'll be uploading this so that you can be playing it and watch it. I'll upload this image, this finished file, and then I'll be also uploading the shapes thing so that you can try practicing along with it. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any suggestions or anything you'd like to see in new tutorials, let me know in the comments or on my DeviantArt page or in the 4chan thread. Thank you and good day.